The Thanksgiving Treasure, Chapter 4. Carla May and I located the rest of the things we wanted, spotted both poison oak and poison sumac, and successfully avoided them, and got home in time for lunch of hot soup at my house. Grandma was admiring all the things we had collected. "My, where did you get those big cattails?" "Oh, we know a place," I said. "I hope you didn't go too far out," said Grandma, looking carefully at me. Carla May and I became very interested in our soup, and in a few moments we were finished and went in to work on the living room floor, making our 3 artistic arrangements. We were careful not to discuss any of the morning adventures, because Grandma was very sharp, and I knew she'd catch on quickly that we had been up to something. Grandma was 73 and hard to fool. Whenever I forgot that and tried to put something over on her, I was sure to get caught. Grandma always wore faded old house dresses and Indian moccasins, and stockings with runs in them, with a dust cap on her and thick glasses sliding down her nose. She appeared to some people to just be a disheveled old lady. Those who knew her knew better. She could be tender and loving, but she was also stubborn and domineering and full of fire, and that fire had been applied to the seat of my pants more than once when I was younger. Now that I'm 11 and getting very tall, I was too big to spank. Grandma, after all, was only a shade over 5 feet. I had no doubt that she could have spanked me if she wanted to, because she was enormously strong, but she and Dad knew that at my age the loss of my allowance caused me a lot more pain than a swat on the bottom. So Carla May and I breathed not a word about Rehnquist or marble cake or the Platte River Bridge or anything else that might give us away. Instead, we busied ourselves stuffing various combinations of cattails, thistles, milkweed pods, leaves, and bittersweets into 3 decorative glass jars. "I want more bittersweet in this one," said Carla May. "My mother loves red." "If you make it too red, it's going to look like a Christmas bouquet, not a fall bouquet." I considered myself the expert on artistic matters, since I planned to be an artist and live in a garret in Paris when I grow up. "Well, then, she can get double use out of it," replied Carla May. "She'll save it until Christmas." Carla May had a practical streak that sometimes clashed annoyingly with my romantic streak. "The point is to make it look like fall, with lots of browns and golds, and just a bit of red for an accent." "Well," Carla May said haughtily, "I don't have an accent." "Oh, all right, ruin yours if you want to, but we're going to make Miss Thompson's genuinely artistic. She has very good taste, and she'll know whether it's done right." Carla May rolled her eyes in exasperation and jammed another big hunk of bittersweet into her bouquet. The next morning we carried the most artistic of our arrangements to school and presented it to Miss Thompson. We all adore Miss Thompson. She was young and beautiful, and it was obvious to us that she was the best teacher in the school. She had always been our teacher the previous year in 5th grade. That had been her first teaching job, and she had liked us so much she had requested to move to the 6th grade with us the next year. Though it was unusual, the principal approved. This had won her our loyalty for life, but it didn't really make us behave a whole lot better. She was most appreciative when Carla May and I took her our arrangements. I had designed a particularly artistic card with a turkey on it, and it read, "To Miss Thompson for Thanksgiving from Adelaide Mills and Carla May Carter." Miss Thompson showed it to the whole class and announced that Carla May and I were both obviously very artistic, which is just what we wanted to hear. Creepy Billy Wilde called me a teacher's pet, and I made the ugliest face I knew at him. That morning in school we were going to get started on our class Thanksgiving projects. We had gone to the grocery store on Main Street and bought a big roll of white butcher paper, which we taped all along one side of the wall, covering the blackboard. Miss Thompson had selected the 4 best artists in the class: Billy, Carla May, Tanya Smithers, and me. And we would draw a huge cornucopia with all kinds of food spilling out of it, and a scene of pilgrims and Indians eating the first Thanksgiving dinner. Then the whole class would participate in painting the mural with watercolors. While the rest of the class worked on other art assignments, Carla May, Billy, Tanya, and I set to work drawing the cornucopia. Billy had brought a Burpee's seed catalog from home, and he suggested we use it to get ideas for drawing the fruits and vegetables. That's cheating, said Tanya. Oh, it is not, I replied. All great artists use models to draw from. Well, I think we should freehand everything, sniffed Tanya. Well, what do you know? Asked Carla May. Addie is the best artist in the class. Come on, said Billy impatiently. Tanya can draw freehand, and the rest of us will use the catalog. Carla May and I set ourselves the task of drawing some bumpy squash out of the Burpee catalog, and Billy was doing a pineapple from a picture he had clipped out of a Saturday Evening Post. Tanya came over and looked at our squash drawings. Ugly, she pronounced in her best snobbish style. Well, squash are part of nature's bounty, too, I said coldly. Oh, Tanya, said Carla May, you're just jealous because all you can draw freehand are autumn leaves and apples. Admit it, and draw from the catalog like the rest of us. Tanya stuck her nose in the air and went down to the other end of the mural and freehand a few autumn leaves drifting around the side of the cornucopia. None of us liked Tanya very well. She was always taking dance lessons and showing off about how talented she was. She was very snobbish because her father had a lot of money. He owned the big gravel pit at the edge of town, and my father worked for Mr. Smithers, loading the gravel trucks with his big crane. When Tanya wanted to be really snobbish, she would hint about how her father was my father's boss and made a lot more money. We still were pals, though, because Clear River was such a small town that you had to be more or less friends with everyone, otherwise there weren't enough people to go around. But I definitely considered Tanya my worst friend in 6th grade. We worked on our drawing for a while. Then Miss Thompson called us back to our seats for an English period. In history period, we had been studying the first Thanksgiving, and we had all been assigned to write essays on what we thought the Pilgrims had meant Thanksgiving to symbolize. Miss Thompson called on Tanya first. It symbolizes giving thanks, Tanya answered. Everybody snickered at that, and Miss Thompson smiled. Well, yes, Tanya, but that's fairly obvious. Can anyone else take it further? They were thankful for their bountiful harvest, I answered. Yes, Addie, and what else? Billy? They were thankful because they made friends with the Indians. Yes, said Miss Thompson. They had made friends with some of the Indians, and can anyone tell me how the first Thanksgiving itself contributed to friendship between the Pilgrims and the Indians? Well, the Pilgrims invited the Indians to dinner, Carla May answered, and the Indians were glad to have a lot to eat. Yes, said Miss Thompson, the Pilgrims did invite the Indians, but let's not forget that the Indians taught the Pilgrims how to raise a lot of their crops and trap their game, or the Pilgrims would have gone hungry. What did they hope to accomplish, then, by inviting the Indians to dinner? They wanted to be better friends with them, said Billy. Right, said Miss Thompson. They wanted to strengthen their friendships, and they invited some of the Indians who were their enemies so they could become friends and share each other's food and culture. So you see, Thanksgiving also symbolizes friendship. You mean we should invite our enemies to Thanksgiving dinner? I asked. Miss Thompson smiled. Why, yes, I suppose that might be a good way of building a friendship with them. The class went on with the discussion, but I never heard the rest of it. I was still thinking about what Miss Thompson had said, inviting enemies to dinner. I had a terrific idea.